Zach. And you have to go easy on Zach. He was trucked this morning, pun intended. Yeah, he got trucked really hard. That's an American football term for those of you that don't know. He got trucked, but he really got trucked today. Really, yeah. And but he's going to give his best while he still has adrenaline to keep him upright.
Can you hear me? Oh, yes. Oh God. Okay.
You have to wait for like 2 seconds.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
All right, so my hand's not working too well right now, so pardon me if I'm a little slow with clicking. But I am Zach Diers. I am stationed over at Ingpei Junior High School in a small area called Zhongjing New Village, just south of Saotun. It is a beautiful area with a brand new school. Our school, I believe, is only about 7 years old, so it's very recent, and we have a ton of staff. What we do is we have something very special that my current English department head designed when they built the school, and it's called the English Village. And so our English Village, as you can see right up here, is literally a multicultural area that is designed to resemble a multicultural, religions, geography, maps. We also have an area that's designed to be identical to a functional airport with an actual airplane cabin and real airplane seats and over-the-head storage. We have a somewhat functional hospital/pharmacy area that we use for our class. Now, I was very, very, very lucky to have this coming into the experience. But the problem was that I had no idea what was going on the moment that I stepped into the school. This is my first time I've ever taught English as a foreign language. This is the first 6 months that I've ever spent in my entire life outside of the Midwest of the United States.
Wow.
So all of this is a brand new experience for me. At my school, I was told, similar to the Bushiban experience, teach whatever you want. What does that mean? So what I had to do is I had to work with the teachers to figure out what did the school have to offer, what was I allowed to do, and what was I not. And the biggest problem was what I was not allowed to do. I was expressly informed on my first day there that I was not allowed to teach from a textbook, period. No textbook, nothing. So I had to hand design all of my lessons from scratch. And so we started our actual school year teaching about geography, which was our first area here. And so I taught the students about the different continents, different countries, different oceans, different directions. And I did it in a very interesting way that a lot of people don't seem to like. I taught it by using English and Chinese. In my classroom, I actively used Chinese to teach the students. By using Chinese in the classroom, I'm actually showing the students that I'm trying to learn. Not only them. The students are trying to learn new terms in English, but I'm trying to learn the same terms in Chinese. And so when trying to teach students about the different directions, I would ask, what is north? They would say it in Chinese, I would repeat it back in Chinese. Then, after we finished our lesson and went on to our review, I would ask it in Chinese and they would have to respond in English. So they did code switching between 2 different sections. From English to Chinese, Chinese to English, they would write their notes in both languages because, as was also mentioned earlier, we have many IEP students in our classes. I teach at Ingpei Junior High School, so I'm not doing elementary kids at my school. We have full inclusion, which means that I have students with autism and Asperger's, I have students with congenital heart defects, I have students with permanent brain damage, I have students from every part of the spectrum. I even have a student that went to a Hong Kong International American school and is 100% fluent in English. She actually helps teach some of the other kids, And the teachers at our school have to teach her Chinese because she can't read or write in Chinese. So her coming into my class is easy peasy. But for many of the other students, they can't handle it. So what I try to do is mix both languages together so that language acquisition is eased. As was also mentioned before, is that a lot of students go to bushibans, and I actually started learning this fairly early on because in my first lessons, I was telling them about school rules. And when I was trying to teach them school rules, a lot of the kids already knew what the rules and the different words meant in English. And I was like, oh my god, you already know this stuff. Cool, let's move on fast. So we moved on fast into geography, and we went from only spending one class on school rules to spending 6 weeks teaching geography. 6 weeks. I thought it would take 2. So what I have had to learn on the fly is pacing. And so I have massively reduced what I expect the students to do, while at the same time keeping the difficulties steady. And so what I did is, moving on to the English Village, I started creating dialogues. So I teach vocabulary and dialogues. The students come into class for the first week, and we talk about the dialogues. We throw it up on the screen. I think I have one here. We throw the dialogue up on the screen. The students write down the different vocabulary words while we are going over it. We stop and pause and look at pictures so that they can try and connect. What is this in Chinese? Not just a completely divorced idea in English. So combining both of them together, English and Chinese, with pictures as well as the English Village itself, the students get to come in. We have a check-in counter, we have a currency exchange counter with fake money. When we come back in February, right here is an actual working metal detector security gate. And so I get to teach my students about these different parts. And they love it. Getting them to actively participate is not an issue, even for my IDP students. I have one student who had 0 skills in English. She didn't even know how to spell her name when we started the semester. But because of the work of myself and one of my major co-teachers, Grace, who is the department head, we spend almost every passing period, every single day, trying to help out our IEP students. And she went from not being able to spell her name to being able to read out the 7th grade dialogue without any assistance.
Wow.
And so constant focus on helping the students has been one of the main things that I work on. Geography activities that we had for our 8th grade, it was a step higher as we showed a picture of a landmark and a country's flag, and they have to guess what country it is, in English. No Chinese at first, nothing at all, just English. And so we were able to put all of these up on the board, and the students were able to get it and connect the ideas when we threw the English up on the board too. And it helped create a fuller experience for students. We also do frequently competitive activities. So I'll tell the students, what continent is Japan in? And the students have to run up to the board and they have to mark where it is. And they have to write it down in English, circle the country, and write down the country's name. The first student to finish wins a point for their group. We did this for many weeks, and eventually we got it down to the point where the students today, 4 weeks later, still remember the lessons and still remember the different countries, and I love it. What I do for the 9th grade students, so those are my 7th and 8th, we work with dialogue and the physical activities, is I create scenarios. Yet again, I was not allowed to use a textbook at all. So what I do is I create different scenarios that the students have to think abstractly about. My favorite scenario that we did was our Halloween scenario about zombies. And this is our instructions. Your class is at school on a Saturday when a zombie outbreak happens in Nanto. These zombies are slow, stupid, and smell terrible. One bite will make you infected. You must work with your group of classmates to figure out how to survive. Every single word that's underlined are all of our vocabulary. We have the students work on these in English, they write them down in Chinese. I repeat back the Chinese and the students give me the English. And combining the two, the students were able to get all of this. To the point where all of these different blackboards here are the students' responses. So I ask them, who's their leader in their group? Who's going to be their leader? So they tell me, who's their leader? Where are you going to stay with your group? And they tell me they're going to stay at the school. They're going to live up on the roof. They're going to go break into a supermarket and hold up at a supermarket. We had one student who said that, oh, we're going to stay in the bathroom. Why are you staying in the bathroom? And he just looked up at me and he's like, well, it has water, right? And I was like, I don't think you want to drink toilet water. And then another one of the students said, well, our group doesn't want to survive, so our only supplies is rope. And I was like, oh, okay. So our students are able to engage in these different ideas. What is something that's ridiculous that you can try to respond to? So I give them scenarios, I give them instructions and questions, and I let them fly with it. And the 9th graders love the activities, and I love listening to their responses. Our most recent one was actually called the Future You Scenario. And I tell the students this exactly in the following. It is 4 years from right now. You have just finished high school, and you are going to remember back on what you have achieved since you graduated from Ingpei. So here I'm having students work with tenses, I'm having them think abstractly, I'm having them think about their own plans for the future. And then I have the students, after they figure out what are their big plans, to choose one big goal that they have, and then write down 5 challenges that they have to overcome. After that, the students came up, and they gave their presentations to the full class. 6 sentences, all of them are required to use vocabulary, and all of them have to be spoken, quote-unquote, fluently, or as fluently as possible. No Chinese. And the students enjoyed this activity to the point where this boy right here, I made sure to get a picture of him, his response for his most important goal before he graduates high school is to get a sexy girlfriend. Very brave, very brave. So his idea of his most important goal was getting a sexy girlfriend, but this girl right here, her goal is actually to enter nursing school. She wants to become a nurse. I have another student, oh, I thought it was Lawrence. I have another student who is an aspiring writer. He lived in California for 2 years, so his English abilities are quite high, and he wants to become an English novelist. And so these are the kinds of students I'm working with, varied. From sexy girlfriends to nursing programs to being a novelist. We have tons and tons of different things and ideas that the students have.
So you teach from 7 to 9?
Yes, I teach 7, 8, and 9. My co-teaching is excellent, but at the same time, very daunting. There are 7 English teachers in my department, and I co-teach with 6 of them. The problem with my school is the fact that every single one of my lesson plans not only has to be made from scratch, but has to be approved by all of my co-teachers. We have one meeting every 3 weeks. So every single day when I write something new, I have to track down every teacher from that one grade and get their approval. Yeah, bi-weekly meetings has not happened. It's once every 3 weeks now. So co-teaching has been excellent. We've done many activities like our English competition. This is my student Sam, an 8th grader who won, I believe, 4th place. And my school experiences, my highlights is I love the different kinds of teaching methods that I've seen and learned, and I've already written down a couple of different activities, so that's going to be fun. There's lots of material to work with in the English village. If I didn't have that, I would have been lost. But I agree, teaching somebody how to get onto a train and what to do is just as important as teaching them what the word 5 is. They need to know life experiences. Very experienced teachers with me for my co-teaching, and the student English levels are quite high for some of them. Difficulties are the extra assignments. One of the biggest problems that I have had since starting is the fact that my school population is shrinking. I only have 16 classes, so I only have 16 hours in the classroom. they don't include the fact that I haven't had a passing period in 4 months because I stay behind to help my IEP students and 504 students. So instead, they've decided to send me to teach at different elementary schools to advertise for ink pay. So when I go to the other schools, they take pictures of me and put my picture in the school newspaper to show that a foreigner teaches at their school. Which not only is a little frustrating, but is also daunting because I don't teach elementary school. I never said okay to have my picture taken, and I'm not the elementary school's employee like you were saying, so it freaks me out a little bit.
You said okay in your contract.
Yes, in your contract for pictures.
They didn't write it on the contract, right?
It's in the contract for my junior high school to take pictures, but not the elementary schools.
It's in the contract.
Yeah, right.
Emily, Ministry of Education contract.
Continue, thank you.
Yeah, I gotta finish up. We have time for comments at the end. Communication difficulties are another issue I've had. And the extra student engagement, trying to get the IEP students to come in, has been another problem. My time is up, so I'm just going to show these up here. Highlights, I love the food here in Taiwan. It's delicious. Scenery is absolutely beautiful on the island. The weather is fantastic. I even like the winter because it's perfect. And there's plenty to learn. Lots of English, lots of routes, lots of Chinese. My difficulties have been food. I'm not sure if any of you remember, I came here a little bit heftier than I am now. I've lost 42 kilograms since I came to Taiwan. 42 kilograms. It is a problem when you can't afford to eat. That's the hard one. Feeding 2 people isn't the easiest thing in the world. Transportation, as some of you guys already know, I had a run-in today with the truck. Transportation's pretty scary and sometimes pretty dangerous. Pollution in the area that I live can get pretty bad. This is a picture from my apartment window where you can't see across the street. And the language barrier is the last and biggest issue because sometimes they have no idea what I'm saying, so I always whip out Google Translate. Alright, thank you everybody for listening.
Wow, well that was really cool. We're doing great on time. Thank you, everyone. I'm really looking forward to the comments that you have, Maylene.